Hello, I'm back again, and I'm talking again about being black in America. Today, I just want to talk about, as again, the experiences I've had as an African American female. Today, I'll start off by talking about, um, as an African American, when we are in certain situations, whether it's in a workplace or uh, a public place, um, African American are always being watched for whatever reason that other people have that they are watching them for. I don't even know. I really don't even understand it. But we are being watched. People are watching what we say, what we do, how we respond to situations. Um, if we are in a business establishment and we have been wronged by the establishment or an employee there, and if we respond to the wrong that has been done to us, people are always watching us to see how we respond. If we raise our voice because of whatever problem that has arise, then we are being basically belligerent, as they say. We are hostile because we are addressing the situation. And you can take someone of another race and they can have the same concerns or same problem arise with them, and they address it. They can be belligerent, they can be yelling, they can be screaming, they can be cussing. And then someone says, well, they're just upset because of what happened to them. But that's wrong, because if I can get upset and I'm not cursing, but I'm upset and I'm letting you know that I'm upset because of what you have done to me, because you have wronged me, then I am not being hostile. I'm just addressing the issue and I'm letting you know that I'm not pleased with what you have done or what you have said. But as I say, as an African American, I'm looked at different just because I'm an African American. When we go into the stores, I've experienced this, and I'm sure a lot of more African American people have experienced this. When you go into the store, you're automatically looked at. You're watched. I have had situations to where I went into the store, especially when my children were small, and I went in with my four kids because I had four children. So here this African American lady comes in with four little black kids with her. As soon as we walk in, all eyes are on us, as if we want to take something. We're not interested in anything. Now, I won't say this happened in all stores, but it has happened more than one time with us. To the point to where I saw people watching us, whatever my children were going to purchase or whatever I was going to purchase. I told my kids, just sit it here, sit it on the counter. And I told them to sit it there. And I set my stuff down and I said, let's go. And they're like, why, mommy? I said, because we don't have to be treated like this. We can go to another store where we can get respect, and which we did. We'd leave and we'd go elsewhere. But those are the type of things you experience as being black in America. Being stopped by police for no reason. A few years ago, me and my husband was driving, coming back from a wedding. We were exiting the freeway, which was 45-mile exit. Just as we're exiting, we're on the just get on the service road. We see these flashing lights behind us. My husband's like, "Oh, why is the police behind us?" I'm thinking, I don't know. Just go ahead and pull into this shopping center, I said, and let's see why he's stopping us. So he pulls over and he comes out of the car and he comes up to our car and he asks my husband if he can see his license and his insurance. And my husband gives it to him and he goes to his car. I said, what he's doing now, he's checking your license to see if you have any tickets or anything out there Because if you do, then he's going to give you a ticket or he wants to take you to jail. So, which we knew he wasn't going to find anything because my husband didn't have any tickets or any warrants or anything like that. And so he comes back and he gives us the insurance and the license back. And he says, well, where are you folks coming from? We said, we're coming from a wedding. He said, oh, well, was it a good wedding? I said, yes, it was. So he said, well, all right, well, I'm just going to give you a warning. He said he was doing 40 something on a 35 miles an hour uh, ramp exit. Uh, when I That was after I asked him, what did you pull us over for? Then he explained that. So I said, okay. My husband said, okay. So we got our stuff, you know, officer pulled off. We left. I told my husband, I said, I'm certain that that ramp is 45 miles an hour exit because I come off that ramp frequently when I'm coming from work. I said, but tomorrow I'm going to drive off, come that way so I can take that ramp because I want to be certain. Sure enough, I did. The ramp says exit 45 miles an hour. But I knew that when we were pulled over and when he said that he pulled us over because my husband was over the speed limit, I knew that was an immediate lie. It was not true. The only reason he pulled us over is because it was an African American driving a car and he wanted to pull my husband over because he figured that he must have had some tickets or something. But he couldn't find anything. Things like that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's not right. I don't think anyone should deal with that. But I don't think more people deal with issues like that more than African American people. I see so many times when there are people pulled over on the freeway on the side of the road. It could be a white person, and they're sitting in their car. And this is pretty much the majority of the time that I see this. They're sitting in their car, you know, they're giving the information, the officer's checking everything, and I've actually saw them give their information back to them and they chit-chatting and laughing. I see when an African American person or Hispanic person is pulled over. This is pretty much each time I see this, they are out of the car, they're against the car, you know, as if they've done something wrong, hands up, being checked. They're standing outside of their car with their hands on the car while the officers are checking, running a check on their license and their insurance or whatever they do. And these people are standing there. And then I've seen where they have searched. And after all of this humiliation that these people have endured, people passing by looking at them, and they found nothing on them, only to give them their license back and to tell them, you know, if they were speeding or whatever, give them a ticket and everything and sends them on their way. Never think about the humiliation that they've caused the individual or anything. This stuff has to stop. It's wrong. You shouldn't do things like this. You shouldn't abuse the authority that you have as a police officer. Police officers are supposed to be civil service workers, which means they're working to help the citizens of whatever state, city that they're working in. You're not helping us when you're stopping us for no reason. It's wrong. It's wrong. But these are things you have to deal with each day as a Black American. As being a Black American, when it comes to healthcare, all doctors do not treat their patients equally. They do not. I've experienced this with doctors. Friends of mine have had some terrible experiences with doctors of another color, usually white doctors. I had one of my friends was crying in tears. She was crying. She was already really ill, but she was crying because she said, my doctor treats me so bad. He doesn't even act like he want to touch me and examine me. I told her, you don't have to deal with this. Go to another doctor. Even if you have to go to a doctor in another city, go to another doctor. And she's like, you know, there's not a lot of doctors in the city I live in. But the way the doctors treat us is wrong. And this is wrong. This is how people that are Black are treated. And it's wrong for doctors who take an oath to basically to be fair to all patients, but they're not. They don't treat African American patients the same as they treat other patients. And it's just wrong. Being black in America, you have to deal with all of these things like that. Being black in America, when you're going into a restaurant, you walk into a restaurant, a nice establishment with usually predominantly white people are in there. And then you sit down and you got to wait 25, 30 minutes before someone comes over and even takes your order to give you a glass of water. Something is seriously wrong with that. It's seriously wrong. When you've seen them go and wait on two or three other people who walked into the restaurant before they even come over to you. A lot of people would think, hey, all this stuff doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, it still exists. We're in 2020 and it still exists. Again, being black in America, these are the things that we deal with every day. Most of the people that I know that are not black, they don't even have a clue what this is like because they don't have to deal with things that we deal with every day. Some of them, when they talk to us or ask us about certain situations, they can't relate because they're not black. They're not black. I had a friend of mine just the other day who happens to be a white gentleman. We were communicating on Facebook back and forth, and he said to me, one of the problems is that they need to listen to the other side. I said, what do you mean they need to listen to the other side? I said, do you mean the other side of the side that's being oppressed or the other side of the oppressor? And he says, well, yes. I said, yes, what? He said, well, both sides. I said, well, okay. I said, so what do you mean? He said, I won't go into any details. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to get all involved in the politics. That's the problem right there. People see situations that need to be addressed, unfair, but they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to get involved. That's why the problems that exist in America and across this universe continue to exist because the people who see the injustice, but they don't want to address it. Again, this is just my take on some of the things that being black in America that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. We deal with things that we shouldn't have to. My son called me one day. This is another situation. He calls me. He's out test driving a car. My son is a businessman. But he's driving a car, test driving a car, pulled over by two police officers, two highway patrolmen, because he has dealer tags on the car because he's test driving a car from a dealership. He tells them their dealer tags because he's test driving a car. They ask for his license, his insurance. He gives them all of that. And he's asked them, why are you pulling me over? What was I doing? I wasn't speeding or anything. He's like, whose car is this? They go in to search the car. What is this in the back of the seat? Which was just the paperwork from the car dealership. So my son is asking them, why are you doing this? You have no right. Why are you doing this? Long story short, they end up arresting my son for obstruction of justice because they said that he would not give them the paperwork that they were asking for. Number one, you had no reason to pull him over. He wasn't speeding. He wasn't driving crazy. You pull him over and he tells you, I'm test driving a car. My son even calls the dealership and let them speak to the police officer and tell them, yes, he's just test driving a car that he's probably going to purchase. Now, grant this, he's a black man test driving a BMW. We all know what they say about that. If he's a black man driving a BMW, he must be what? A drug dealer. That's not always true, but that's what we deal with being black in America. If you are driving a luxury car and you are in a certain particular county, this particular county was Gwinnett County in Georgia. And if you're in a certain county, then you have to be a drug dealer or something because you are black and you shouldn't be driving an expensive car like that. You must be doing something illegal. Wrong. That's wrong. It's wrong that people have to be subjected to that type of behavior just because of the color of their skin. No one can change the color of their skin. It's how God created us. And it's wrong to be treated unfairly, unjust. And there shouldn't be, we shouldn't be treated unjustly just because, unjustly, just because of the color of our skin. It's wrong. It's in, it's in, it's wrong. It should never happen. And it's time for it to stop. All of these poor people being killed at the hands of the people that are supposed to protect us. It's wrong. It's wrong. And as I said, I don't know about other people, but these are just situations that are personal to me that have happened in my life just because of being black in America. That's, again, this is my take. If you have had experiences, or I'm pretty sure if you're black, you've had some, and I'm sure you've had some worse than the ones that I'm talking about. But I just wanted to kind of just share some of the things that I have dealt with, or some of my family members have dealt with, just being black in America. Other races don't deal with all this, especially white races. They don't deal with all this stuff that we as black people deal with, and it's wrong. And it is time out, and it's time for something to be done about it. Again, that's my take on being black in America.